Right, what's going on, people, and welcome back to a brand new video. Here today to talk a bit about the Munster Championship. Really looking forward to the Munster Championship this year. It's going to be very interesting to see how the likes of Kerry get on with such a youthful team. The likes of David Clifford coming in. How is he going to do in the Munster Championship this year? And of course, will Tipperary respond and have a similar campaign to the one they had 2 years ago when they reached the Munster final and actually went on to reach the All-Ireland semi-finals? So they've got a real chance, Tipperary. Of course, Cork as well. Will we see a bit of a response from them this year? Clare had a decent campaign in Division 2, and Limerick and Waterford are kind of just there to make up the numbers, really. I mean, those counties will be mostly focused on hurling rather than football, essentially. And I suppose if we start off with Limerick and Waterford, I wouldn't expect either of them to really do anything in the Munster Championship this year. Limerick and Waterford both finished bottom of Division 4. Joint bottom, just ahead of Wicklow, I believe it was. They both finished with 3 points each. Even London finished ahead of them on points difference, and I believe the likes of Antrim finished ahead of them, Carlow and Laois, of course, as well. So really poor campaign from both of them. Limerick, of course, a couple of years ago reached the Munster final, but I don't see any heroics happening like that again, especially when you look at the bracket of the Munster draw. Limerick will be playing Clare and Waterford will be playing Cork in that sort of opening bracket of the draw, and I don't expect Limerick or Waterford to Limerick might give Clare a bit of a test, but I would expect Clare to pull through there, and I would obviously expect Cork to pull through against Waterford. However, in saying that, Waterford last year, they gave a really good display actually against Cork in the Munster Championship last year, and actually came close to beating Cork in that Munster Championship game. It was just a late rally from Cork that overturned Waterford. So you never know. These shocks can happen, but certainly I would expect Limerick and Waterford county fans, football fans, hurling fans, they'd all be pretty much they'd be expecting their counties to do better in hurling than football, of course. And I wouldn't expect either of these two to do anything really in the Munster Championship. And then, of course, on the other half of the draw, you'd have Cork and Tipperary who'd be playing each other in a semi-final. This will be very interesting as well. They met each other, I believe, in the semi-finals of the Munster Championship last year, where Cork, once again, rallied very late, similar to what they did against Waterford. They actually did that quite a lot last year in the Championship. Cork, even against Kerry in the Munster final, even though they lost, they sort of put on a bit of display towards the end. Even in that game against Mayo, where they lost, they actually, fought back late on, took it to extra time, probably should have won, but didn't. And that's the thing about Cork. They do have talented players. Colm O'Neill's pretty good. A few other good players there as well, but they just don't seem to quite, put in good enough performances. They seem to leave things very, very late. A lot of the times they don't show up. They're very inconsistent, and they're still sort of recovering from that tail end of that 2011 All-Ireland success. They've had to bring through a lot of new players since then. There's been a lot of changes in Cork football since then, and that is why I wouldn't expect them to do anything big really in the All-Ireland Championship this year. However, I would expect them to get past Tipperary. I know Tipperary have got their own talented players, and the likes of Michael Quinlivan. Conor Sweeney, of course, is decent as well. So, and of course, 2 years ago they were All-Ireland semi-finalists. But going into that game, we'd obviously have to both see them play first, both Cork and Tipperary. Or Tipperary, I think it is, who play Waterford, I believe it is. So it would be very interesting to see, once these sides play first. But it'd be very, very tough to predict both of them. I feel like it'd be a very close game. And I suppose then, if we speak about Clare, who had actually had a really impressive Division 2 campaign, a lot of people would have probably had them to finish down near the bottom of Division 2, but actually they finished just behind the two sides who got promoted, Roscommon and Cavan. They finished ahead of Tipperary, ahead of the likes of Cork. They actually beat Cork in Cork by I think 14 points to 12. And when I look at Clare, they've got some really talented players. James Tubridy, of course, kicked a number of points throughout their Division 2 campaign. He looks really talented. And Clare, go into this Munster campaign with a bit of confidence, a bit of belief behind themselves. But although I would expect them to beat Limerick in that opening game, unluckily for them, they then play, I believe it is Kerry in the semi-final. If they were playing Cork, you'd say, they might have a chance there. But they are playing Kerry, so I would expect Kerry to beat them there. But who knows? Could Clare be a potential outsider in going into the qualifiers this year, or was their Division 2 campaign just helped by the fact that no one else was really taking it as serious? They probably wouldn't have finished second had obviously Tipperary, I think, played what was it, Cavan on the last day. Tipperary lost, so hence the reason why Clare finished third. But who knows? They have a good couple of players there. They're in a good place at the moment, and I would expect them to reach the Munster semi-final, but unfortunately get beaten eventually by Kerry. And of course then that leaves Kerry, who will be favourites going into the Munster Championship this year, with players like Johnny Buckley, Paul Gainey, and of course the young David Clifford, who has come through this year with a lot of expectation. But Kerry certainly are not nailed on for this Munster Championship in my opinion. I do feel like there could be an upset here. Kerry didn't have a great league campaign. They've made a lot of changes in their team. I think a lot of people do feel like this will be Eamon Fitzmaurice' last real chance of delivering an All-Ireland for Kerry. Of course, he won one before, I believe back in 2014, but of course in the last couple of years they've had to see the success of Dublin win 3 in a row. They'll be eager to stop Dublin from doing 4 in a row this year, and going into the Munster Championship this year, you would expect them to get to the final. You'd expect them to beat Clare in that semi-final, or Limerick if they happen to beat Clare. And they will raise their game for the finals, absolutely no doubt about it. They will certainly improve a lot more in the Championship than the league. Kerry don't always take the league very serious, of course. So we'll have to see how that one goes. But I would expect Kerry to win the Munster Championship. I just don't see Cork or Tipperary really being consistent enough to actually beat them in that final. I'd probably expect Cork to be there as well. I think Cork can raise their game, and they do tend to raise their game in the Munster Championship. They leave it late at times, but I do feel like they're just still a little bit better than Tipperary in my book. But, in saying that, anything could really happen in the Munster Championship this year. I feel like if there's going to be a major shock in a province this year, it could come in Munster, in my opinion, because the Kerry are certainly beatable, and we've seen that in the Championship or in the league already this year with a couple of defeats. So be very interesting to see what happens. But anyway, lads, that is going to be the end of the video. So if you haven't subscribed already, consider doing it on this channel. We cover everything GAA, football, hurling, previews, predictions, absolutely everything. And yeah, so let me know, am I right, am I wrong, down in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Alright, peace out.